Good morning, FCF. We are, believe it or not, we're in day 7 of our journey where we're just learning as a lifestyle to tell things to Jesus, to pour out our hearts to Him. Now, the portion of Scripture I'm going to share with you today is rather an obvious truth, but it is something that I found to be one of the most important things I've ever learned in my entire spiritual journey. Let me read you from Matthew 24 to introduce it, and you might be familiar with this portion of Scripture. This is Jesus is just 5 days from going to the cross, and He's with His disciples at the temple. Let me begin. Matthew 24, and by the way, Matthew 24 is one of the most important passages in all of the Bible where Jesus starts predicting the future conditions of earth before His final return. All right, 24 verse 1. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when His disciples came up to Him to call His attention to its buildings. "Do you see all these things?" He asked. "I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to Him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" So all they do, and my main point that I'm trying to share with you is they just bring their questions to Jesus. So we're talking about a lifestyle of telling Jesus. And one of the things that has been the most powerful in my life is learning to practice this. I've learned there's a certain way to bring your questions to Jesus. And when you bring your questions to Jesus in a certain way that I'm going to share with you, I have found it to be the source of extraordinary insights into the very heart of God Himself. Okay, so they bring their question to Jesus. You know, He's telling them the temple is going to be torn down. They want to know when, what's going to be the sign of His coming. So they're just comfortable bringing questions to Jesus. One of the things that I've learned through my lifetime is that if you come to a portion of Scripture, let's say, that you don't quite understand, and you just ask the Lord, what's going on here? What does this mean? Where's your heart in this? Where's your mind in this? But you have to ask in a certain way. You have to ask with absolute humble confidence in the Lord, which every time I've ever asked God a question anywhere in my life, I am utterly confident in His goodness. I'm utterly confident that whether He chooses to answer me or not, that my trust in Him is appropriate, and that's locked in. My trust in Him, my trust in His infallibility, my trust in His goodness, regardless of what's going on in my life or what I'm experiencing, that's locked in. That's done. I trust Him implicitly. But I have learned to ask Him questions. This all started really back in my, I think it was my second year of being a Christian. I ratcheted up my nerve to ask God the question, "Lord, I know that you want us to obey you, but why? Why do you want us to obey you?" Now, I was really a little bit scared when I asked that question. You know, I went on to say, "Lord, you know, I trust you implicitly. I'll do whatever you want me. I could never thank you enough for your kindness to me," and so forth. So I was a little bit scared because I was rather new, only my second year of being a Christ follower. Okay, so I asked this question. "I know you want us to obey you, but why?" Very short period of time, I come across a verse in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, verse 29. And in the verse, God, like a broken-hearted father, is speaking to His people, the Israelites. And what He says to them is, He says, "Oh, that if only you had such a heart in you, that you would obey me always." If you stop right there, it doesn't answer the question. But it says, "Oh, if only you had such a heart in you, that you would obey me always." And then it goes on to say, "so that it would be well with you." Well, the lights all went on for me. I mean, maybe I'm just a knucklehead. I knew that God wanted us to obey, but I didn't really know why. I just felt like, okay, He's the creator of the universe. If He wants us to obey, I'm going to shut up and obey, you know. He's forgiven my sins. He loved me enough to die on the cross for me. But that verse turned the light on. It literally opened the Bible to me and the character of God and the heart of God in a way that I was unprepared for. It transformed my entire walk with God. I became so confident at that point in God's goodness, and every command that I found in the Bible became an invitation to a life of blessing, because I knew that His commands were always for my good, that He knew what was best and wanted what was best. And so it was a transforming experience, but it all started by me asking a question. From that point on, man, I have had some ride. I have asked God question after question after question, and the insights into His heart, into His eternal plan, His overarching big picture plan that God has been pleased to open for me has been nothing short of thrilling and transformational. Learn to do what these disciples did. Come to Jesus with humility, but with confidence in Him, confidence in His goodness, but humbly ask Him, Lord, what's the meaning behind this? Learn to ask the whys and not just the whats. We tend to ask God for the what questions. Learn to ask the why. Why? Because that's where you get glimpses into God's heart. And those glimpses from me, and I'm confident they will be for you, they are powerful and they are transformational. So, bring your questions to Jesus. See you on our last day. Goodbye for today.